Welcome back, Mystery Mob. I got a good one for you today, and I put up a poll. If you didn't see that a couple days ago, I was like, what do you guys want? Do you want mysterious? Do you want paranormal, true crime? And since I just did some paranormal, I was like, okay, they're definitely gonna hit me with mysterious or true crime, but I'm always shocked by you guys. You picked paranormal, even though I didn't have one ready. So I kinda went through the scrolls and I found one that I wrote that is maybe true crime, maybe mysterious, maybe paranormal. You're gonna have to listen to find out. But before you do anything right now, why don't you go in that comment section? As you're going in that comment section, just click that like button right next to it. It doesn't hurt anybody, does it, right? Let's get this up to like 70 likes. You can do it. I have faith. And when you do this, you get bonus episodes just dropped in throughout the week, because that's my appreciation towards you. But in the comments right now, just tell me overall, right? 1, 2, 3. Paranormal, mysterious, true crime. Your order, if you had to pick your order in those three, let me know right now in the comments. Okay, so without any further ado, make sure to find the clue. Had to make that rhyme. But yes, the clue will be in every episode in our first giveaway, which is what enters you into the giveaway by finding the clue, putting what it is with the timestamp in the comments, get you into the giveaway. Our first giveaway will be next week. I'm very excited. I'm trying to find, if anybody knows, let me know in the comments, like a randomizer or something where I can put all your names in who got pinned, right? And that way it's fair, not just me picking somebody out. If any of you know a device like that or an app, please let me know in the comments right now. Okay, so without any further ado, as of now, it is time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. May 14th, 2008 started out as a night of celebration for 19-year-old freshman Brandon Swanson. You see, after finishing his first year of classes up at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, Brandon was eager to party. He wanted to have a good time, and he was with his high school buddies. I mean, at this moment, he felt on top of the world, finally tasting this real independence, living away from home for the first time. But somewhere along the dark country roads home, after the celebration, it turned to panic. So I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this case, and at the end, in the comments, I want you to tell me what you think happened. Okay, so around 1:30 in the morning, Annette Swanson awoke to a frantic shouting on the phone, and it was Brandon, and he was in trouble. You see, swerving off the road in his Chevy Lumina, Brandon now found himself stuck in a ditch, in his car, surrounded by impenetrable darkness, miles away from home. And even though he was uninjured, his pride was pretty hurt. Sheepishly, you could tell his independence just melted away, and Brandon's first instinct was to call his parents for help, as most of our instincts are. So, pulling on their coats, Annette and Brian raced out of the door into the night to go save their son, just like any good parents would do. And they were able to track his cell phone signal to just west of Lind, Minnesota. The Swansons pinpointed Brandon's location, then kept him actually on speakerphone during their entire drive. And they were just peppering him with these questions, to gauge his condition, if he was drunk or sober. Each time Brandon insisted, I'm fine. But you could hear a tinge of frustration in his voice. And now we're approaching 2 a.m. and Annette, she eyed the inky rural darkness uneasily, and she said, "Do you have your flashes on?" Brandon kind of paused for a second, then replied, "No, but I'll turn them on right now." Like a runway signal, these bright hazard lights would guide them straight to his stranded car. So at last, turning down this dusty township road Brandon had flagged, Brian and Annette scoured the lonely blacktop that was just bathed in their high beam lights. They drove once, twice, 3 times along this empty lane with no sign of flashing crimson lights, no sign of Brandon at all. Brandon's father, Brian, said, "We're here. Where are you?" Annette kind of leaned out the window, shouting Brandon's name before grabbing the phone in a panic. And of course, right when they got there, only silence answered on Brandon's end. Then his voice suddenly cracked through the static, and there was hope. He said, "What the hell is going on, guys? I've been flashing my lights. Why can't you see me?" The parents at that time felt their blood run cold. Peering into the vast darkness, they couldn't see more than 15 feet in any direction, never mind their son or his car that was supposedly blinking with its lights on. Another chilling soundbite followed from Brandon. This time, it was just a click. Had he just hung up on them? Now becoming deathly afraid, Annette redialed his number only to abruptly get the voicemail. Brandon, it seemed, was there and then not there at the same time, almost like a phantom in the night. So Annette just kept redialing after redialing, and finally, when Brandon actually picked up the phone minutes later, the confusion only deepened. I mean, he claimed that he was still waving his flashlight near the disabled Chevy, desperate for his parents just to drive by. But near what? Because Brian and Annette at this point had combed through every inch around them with zero luck. Possibilities too terrifying to utter aloud crept into the frantic parents' minds. Had Brandon crashed elsewhere, and now he was just wandering around in a daze? Had he even crashed at all? "Please, Brandon," his mother implored, "just tell us what you see around you. Are there any landmarks?" Brandon let out an exasperated sigh. "I already told you. I'm staring at two big silos in a field. Why can't you see those?" But no silos stood within 30 miles of there. Where was their disoriented son? And as fear started to boil over, Brandon suddenly declared, "You know what? If you aren't going to find me, I'm walking to Lynn myself." And with that, the line again went dead. So Brian frantically hung a U-turn towards Lind, screaming Brandon's name just into this void of darkness that we call night. He reasoned that his hot-headed son would be stomping straight down the road shoulder for the nearest warm pub while the bars were still open. And it was nearly last call, so they only had minutes to intercept him and to find him. Streetlights soon illuminated Brian's wild eyes as he tore into Lind, only 11 miles from their abandoned search area. And he kept redialing and redialing and redialing with no answer until suddenly Brandon's ringtone sang out from the shadows. So they whipped right towards the sound, and Brian's high beams fell upon a staggering figure emerging from the tree line, backlit by a halo of light. "Brandon! Brandon!" Except no. Heart sinking, Brian realized it was just a wandering drunk, oblivious to everything but getting home in one place. With no Brandon here or there or anywhere to be found, icy fear finally solidified that their son was not in Lind likely at all. He likely never even was. This meant that Brandon Swanson was stranded somewhere in the open country darkness, shifting in and out of reality, possibly injured and rapidly running out of time. Wasting no time, Brian at this point gasped on the ignition towards home as Brandon's worried mother waited helplessly by the landline. One call is all it would take to radio every on-duty deputy towards that area. And just as this hope was kind of rekindling, lighting Brian's exhausted eyes for the first time since their futile farm road search hours ago, his blaring ringtone cut the tense silence once more. "Brandon!" he sputtered. Only garbled static answered at first, and Brian just kept pleading his son's name until finally a faint voice materialized. "I'm walking. So tired." At this point, adrenaline spiking, Brian begged Brandon to explain where he was, but their connection only continued to crumble. He helplessly just listened to the sounds of Brandon traipsing down an unseen road, likely towards some imaginary safe place, dancing through his disoriented psyche. Then suddenly, a familiar sharp gasp echoed through the speakers. That exact horrifying sound that every parent dreads in their core, capturing that split second between normalcy and calamity befalling their child. And that's when Brandon had shouted just one strangled phrase before the line went dead for good. "Oh, crap!" Then, nothingness. No amount of calling could reestablish contact. Brian was shaking uncontrollably, replaying those last tortured words in his mind when the hair suddenly raised up on the back of his neck, and a fourth unseen passenger had been in the car that entire night, quietly riding along from the very first distress call, listening, recording, memorizing their exact movements all night long like their own personal map, Brandon's cell phone signal. So at this point, he whipped his car around towards the nearest police station, and Brian pleaded to deputies that they needed to track Brandon's phone signal immediately before the trail went cold. And these records painted a chilling picture of the night's events. So, Brandon's crash site was pinpointed nowhere near Lynn, but 20 miles further northwest of Porter, confirming his severe disorientation. From there, Brandon's phone recorded him somehow walking south down a direct beeline for 8 hours until suddenly stopping dead cold in Taunton Township. But where exactly? So with dawn's first light finally blessing this rural landscape, search parties mobilized en masse towards Brandon's last known location. They were just desperate to pick up the trail while their window remained opened. And what they found first, though, was Brandon's abandoned car, confirming that wherever he disappeared on foot, it was certainly not by the stranded Chevy. So at this point, cadaver dogs were quickly enlisted, immediately picking up Brandon's scent, and they tracked down his twists and turns for an entire mile down gravel range road 180 before suddenly, nothing. Just like that, his essence vanished into thin air. Dogs would just circle, and they kept circling this exact same spot, utterly baffled that the missing teen's scent so abruptly disappeared halfway down a barren dirt lane with neither shelter nor turnoff in sight. So at this point, the rescuers just scoured the area for 2 full weeks, employing every resource imaginable. I'm talking about thermal drones, sonar, ground units, grassers combing every inch for traps or storm sewers or caves Brandon could have slipped unseen beneath the soil. I mean, no stone went unturned as Brandon Swanson's name echoed constantly over news waves nationwide, ever amplifying the family's heartbreak, hearing it constantly with still zero leads. Until a local farmer named Elmer suddenly arrived at the search command tent unannounced 13 days later with an improbable tale. He claimed the ghostly silhouettes of a young blonde man in a red t-shirt emerged without sound from a soybean field the night prior while Elmer was irrigating acres after dusk. "Couldn't believe my eyes," he exclaimed, with wild hand gestures and visibly shaken by the encounter. And word spread fast across talk radio waves about the Brandon ghost, seen roaming crop fields at night in that area that he vanished in. But authorities remained incredulous. Even desperate families cling to far-fetched mirages sometimes when grappling the depths of loss. I mean, without tangible proof of either foul play or misadventure to explain why Brandon cried out in fear before his signal abruptly stopped. Swirling rumors carried on locally for years that something more supernatural than natural possibly swallowed him whole. Something or someone still hidden in that rural darkness that knows precisely what became of Brandon Swanson, but refuses to talk or even show its face. Thank you guys so much for listening. I want you to put right now in the comments what you actually think happened to Brandon Swanson. And let's get this up to 70 likes, and that way I can give you guys another video this week, another episode, another story, because I got so many of these, they're piling up. I just need you to get the likes. So what you got to do is like it and then share it, because if you share it, that's caring, and everybody likes to care about sharing, right? Either way, thank you guys so much. I love y'all, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.